It's Gorman in the morning with Fletcher and Ryder. Now, 92 KQRS.
KQRS, Red Hot Chili Peppers, a band with a bassist named Flea.
Yes.
Just one name, one word, that says it all. Flea.
When you just have one name, you're awesome. Just makes you kind of badass.
It's pretty cool.
I agree,
says
Ryder.
Listen to her.
Oh,
she
my
sure
goodness.
does. I mean, not only is her name Ryder, her husband's name is Mr. Ryder. How cool is that?
Yeah,
It's really,
a lot of
really
swag, a lot of swag over
pretty
there.
badass. I never, Steve is such a common name. You can't get away with that. I did, growing up, Gorman's the kind of name, everybody just calls you Gorman. They don't care, especially when you have a bunch of brothers. You're just, every one of us is Gorman, like in the neighborhood, But, it's pretty great. Like, as a drumming fanatic, as a Beatles fanatic, Ringo said it all to me. I was always like, how cool is it to just go around with one word?
Be Ringo. Just be Ringo.
There's
all
only
four of them. When you say John, Paul, George,
put them
and
all
Ringo,
together, yeah.
boom.
When I was going to be confirmed in the Catholic Church, you take your confirmation name way ahead of Pope John Paul. I was going to be John Paul just because of the Beatles.
Oh, neat.
Nice.
Yeah, that was me. That's how I rolled.
What's even more amazing about the Beatles, John, Paul, George are such common names, yet you say Paul, almost everybody assumes you're talking about McCartney or Lennon.
Possibly. If you're talking rock music.
Well,
what do you mean?
I mean, who else would,
And what other
John Paul, maybe, I guess. I don't know. Who else is Paul?
What, if you're just talking music and you're like, oh, did you see what Paul did? I see. I think people say McCartney over Paul. They go to the last name.
That might be true.
I think. I mean, I could,
But if you're talking music and you just say Paul, people are going to know who you're talking about. Let's move on. Let's move on.
It's no Flea, put it that way. I mean, it doesn't stick out like Flea. But let's leave the bassist alone, although Paul does more. Paul does more than just play bass. Let's talk about the singers with single names.
Okay.
The iconic status you must have to just go through life where everyone knows you with one name. Who are the top ones? Who comes to mind first?
Okay.
651-989-ROCK. I
got one.
You got one?
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
When I say Aretha, does that count?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not another Aretha.
No, I don't think there's ever been another Aretha.
And if there were,
notable status.
And speaking of Aretha and the respect given her, how about the man who wrote that song, Otis? There's only one Otis that matters to me
true.
in my world, if you will.
Wasn't there a cartoon dog named Otis?
Watch yourself. We're talking about the greatest soul singer of all time.
I know.
He's only 26 when he died.
Dude, and that was OD.
And a mad whistle, too, by the way.
I'm sure he did. Are you kidding?
Yeah. No, I'm
so
serious.
651-989-ROCK. Let me know who comes to mind.
Yeah.
Otis Redding wrote the song Hard to Handle, and we already referenced the Big O, Otis. That's a single name. People say Otis Redding, but if you just leave it at Otis, I think they know who you're talking about as well. They certainly should. If you reference Otis and someone says, who's that? Cut that person out of your life.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't go deep, if you don't at least know Dock of the Bay, we got serious problems.
So a lot of one-name singers out there, one-name celebs that come to mind. On the 651-989 KQ Talking text line, how happy am I to see the first one I looked down, someone wrote, Lemmy.
Yes.
Yes.
Is he a singer or is he a rock god?
He's just a rock god. He's the best.
Yeah.
I met Lemmy one time. When it was at a bar, his Motorhead played a gig, and then in town, and a couple hours later, I'm at a bar late at night with a buddy whose name was Keith, and he was a bassist, and he goes, "Oh my God, there's Lemmy!" And we're just in a bar and watching a local band play, and there's Lemmy sitting we're in a venue, and at the actual bar, Lemmy's just sitting there by himself, 12:30, 1 a.m., having a drink, and my buddy walks right up to him and he goes, "Lemmy, oh my God. Can I run to my car and get my bass? And if I do, will you sign it?" And Lenny goes, "No, leave me alone." And my friend goes,
"Classic.
Really?" And he goes, "Oh, all right, go get it."
Yeah.
Just like that. It was like this all bark. And then he was like, couldn't have been more charming. Signed my buddy's bass, bought us drinks. Come on.
Oh, damn.
How great is Lemmy?
Lemmy has bought you a drink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been more jealous of you.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Awesome.
A lot of Aussies coming in as well on the text line. There's Lemmy. There's Ozzy.
I don't have a name for this one, but this is a person who's got my level of stupidity, sense of humor.
Okay.
Gerardo, the Rico Suave guy. Legendary. I'm like,
I didn't even know that was his name.
Yeah. I would have called him the Rico Suave guy.
The curly, long, oily hair and the boots and, oh, God, Rico.
I had no idea that was his
Suave.
name. So Sting gets a lot of votes. You know, I mean, love him or hate him, it's a great name for a singer.
For sure.
Sting. Pink. Pink's pretty big.
She is pretty big.
Pink's pretty big. I didn't see that one coming. I thought that was going to be a quick shelf life, just based on what most pop stars go through. But man, she's
cultivated
huge.
a career.
Is it more about with her? Is it more about the touring and the performance because she does all those acrobatics and stuff than the songs? She really nails that touring thing.
We've seen her a bunch.
Yeah,
partly because the kids love her. Also, as a part of my past life in radio. She's as good as anything you can see on planet Earth right now live. I mean, her acrobatics. She's 25 feet in the air doing full-blown Cirque du Soleil stuff. And then on top of that, she does all the rehearsal necessary to get, like she did a piece on, I think it was 60 Minutes or CBS Sunday Morning, where she had her yoga instructor stand on her abs and then had her warm up her vocals while she was standing on her.
Okay.
That's how she preps to be able to do what she does live. There's no lip syncing. It's all live. I don't think I would be as big a fan. I don't think I don't sit and listen to her music, but I'll go see her live anytime. She's unbelievable. I was going to defend her if you guys attacked.
Hey, man, last time I saw Kiss, Paul Stanley jumped in the thing and flew around the whole arena when he was chained in. That was pretty cool. It wasn't yoga guy standing on his abs, but for a man at his age flying around the arena, I was impressed.
So who are like our top three? Did Prince make the cut?
Prince is definitely on the cut. On a ranking I'm looking at, Prince comes in number 2. One spot ahead of Adele. That's recency bias. I mean, Adele's a great singer, but come on, in the history of things, do you think of her?
Did she beat out a Cher?
She beat out Cher. Yeah. She beat out Madonna. She beat out, a few other. That's shocker. But number 2 is Prince. Number 1, it didn't even occur to me. But then, of course, it's like, well, of course, Elvis. That's your number 1. Yeah,
that's a no-brainer.
Obviously, don't mean Costello, but Elvis.
Yeah, the other Elvis.
One singer that I always just say use one name for, but it's too bad because he's got such a great last name. Is Freddie Mercury. I just say Freddie. I think if you're talking singers and you say Freddie, no one assumes you mean Fred Durst. You're talking about Freddie Mercury.
You are.
But when your last name's Mercury, it's too cool to leave off.
Yeah, you just got to say it.
You could just, but if you say Freddie, you know who you're talking about.
The thing I'll say about Adele, though, songs are really strong.
Yeah.
The voice is one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
120 million records. I mean, I don't know if it's just recency bias. She might just be that good.
Oh, no, I'm not taking anything away from her. I just don't think of it as like, that's me.
She's got to earn it a little longer, maybe, to move up to number 3.
Ahead of Madonna and Cher?
That's
I'm not saying I'm a Madonna fan by anywhere. I'm just saying they've been around 40, 60 years.
When this topic first came up, the very first thing that popped in my head is Page and Plant, but then I guess one of them's not a singer.
Well, that's very true.
But 2 iconic names, and they could just go by the single one.
For sure.
Maynard. Getting a little love on the talking text line.
That's a good one. I like that voice. I like that voice.
Going after my rock and roll roots.
Here's my favorite, though. Jake and Elwood. 2 first-name singers. The Blues Brothers. Come on, there's your winner right there.
Oh, yeah.
But how about Dolly? Where's Dolly on that list?
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah, the Queen always. You know what? Here's the funny thing about Dolly. She ends up on every list. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, most badass human ever? Sure. Who gave the most books to kids? Dolly. Everything about her,
Dolly.
she's on every list.
Songwriting, Dolly.
Saw her play a gig a few years back where she came on stage and played in the course of a show. She had she did most of the set by herself, and then when she had accompaniment, it was just a guy playing a snare drum with brushes and then a stand-up bass player. And then every song she played an electric guitar, an acoustic guitar, a mandolin, a banjo, a fiddle. It was 7. I think she played 7 different instruments, and in between songs told stories and sang and just worked the stage. I've never seen anything like it in my life, and that was the year she turned 70.
Way to go, Dolly.
It was just like it's at the Ryman, the Mother Church of Country Music, and just sitting there watching her, and just all I thought was, man, just put her in glass and keep her alive forever.
I was just gonna say she is the definition of a national treasure. And quite honestly, Adele, Madonna, Cher all should take a back seat. She should be 3.
I could make a strong case for 1. You know, Elvis wanted to record "I Will Always Love You," and she said, "No, I'm good." Because when Elvis did your song, when Elvis Presley covered your song, he took half your publishing. And 9 times out of 10, the singer was like, great. Because if he sings it, my half will be more than my whole. otherwise. You know what I mean? Like if Elvis does your song, you're going to make so much money off your half, way more than you would have made if you maintained all of it. And he said, I want to do that one, little lady. I love that song. And Dolly said, nah, I'm good. I'll just hang out and do it myself.
Then she let Whitney do it.
And then Whitney did it
well. I mean, she did
you
it
think?
Well. Yeah, she did okay.
Yeah, I'd say she's an okay
singer.
Okay. She did all right with that one.
Is Whitney a one? I mean, Whitney's a one name.
I guess that would be true. I mean, you could say that. Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead with it. Let's give it to Whitney.
All right, so we're putting Dolly in the top 3 for sure, and arguably maybe number 1.
92 KQRS.
Twins. I had some twins as a kid when I was little in elementary school. James and John, identical twins, and they dressed. Their mom dressed them constantly in the same clothes, although with different color schemes. It'd be like the same corduroys and the same sweater, but one guy would have light brown, the other dark brown. It was always the same clothes, but different shades. And then they would, but they were, this was in elementary school, they were already pretending to be each other to teachers and to us, to other kids. But it doesn't, within a little bit of time, though, you started kind of realizing, no, you're not James, you're John. Like I was pretty sure I could tell them apart. Mm-hmm. But they did have there was total freaky connections going on with those guys. I mean, they would respond and react, and the facial different things they'd say at the exact same time. So, I mean, I really did think, and I've always had this theory that you tell me anything about twins or triplets and the bond they have and the way they see and feel things the same way, I'm like, yeah I believe it. Totally. I just, it makes perfect sense to me. I'm not a scientist, but I'm like, yeah, they came out at the same time. Of course they understand the world the exact same way.
Well, and they shared a lot before they were born. They shared everything, so yeah.
So, but that said, then every now and again I see something and I go, okay, this is just the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my life. A pair of twins, adult women in Australia, were interviewed. A kind of a crazy story down there. There was a car, a red Porsche, caused a deadly crash. It was a bad deal. Yeah. And then the dude in the Porsche got out, pulled a gun, shot another guy, and then he went on to carjack an SUV.
Right.
And then got into another wreck before the cops finally found him. So this is in a kind of a rural area of the country, and it's a lot of drama. I mean, a guy causes a crash and then carjacks another car to get away. It's kind of crazy. Well, these two women, Bridget and Paula Powers, 50 women in their 50s, were there, and their mother, who's still with us, even tried to help the guy, the carjacker. She didn't realize he was at fault. She jumped into the middle to try to help the guy. Long story short, they were then interviewed, I should say, on the local news about the situation. And there's two women standing here together. They're identical twins. They're in their 50s, and they do not only look alike, but like the song says, they talk alike.
And one guy, he was up there with our mum. He went up there and he was coming back down towards us. And he goes, run, he's got a gun. and our heart started to pound. And I said, well, Mum, where's Mum? And poor Mum was stuck up there. But apparently our brave Mum, she goes, are you all right? Because he had all blood all over his face. And he goes, I'll shoot you. She goes, hey, I'm here to help.
Okay, then. By the way, when you're watching it, it's even weirder.
Yeah.
But they're just, as you can hear, they're just finishing each other's sentences. They're saying the same exact words.
Yep.
Their hand gestures are the same. And by the way, not the first time they've ever been interviewed. They run like a bird sanctuary, and apparently every now and again, somebody comes up and interviews them. They've been doing this. There are clips on YouTube that go back 11, 12 years, and this is just how they talk. And they say, well, we've just always been so close our whole lives, which is, I'm going to interpret that as we never had friends, and this is just how they communicate together, always.
I don't think I saw them blink one time either during that
And they're wearing the exact same outfit. This must have been close to Easter because it looks like a scrubs that you'd see at a hospital with freaking bunnies on it.
Yeah.
God, this whole thing just gives me goosebumps. It's like there's some weird echo going on that I can't fix.
We were there in the hospital, and they gave us these scrubs, and we said, let's put some bunnies on them.
I shared this on the Twitter yesterday and said this is my favorite scene from The Shining.
Pretty much so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, and then the dingoes came. They had bad attitudes and razor-sharp teeth. And then we ran off, and our mum had the blood on her face. And I said, throw another shrimp on the barbie. I mean, it is as creepy as it gets.
And then a dingo ate my baby.
That's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. There's always time in my day for more dingo talk. Make no mistake about it.
Gorman in the morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the morning is back. 92 KQRS.
The Cranberries right there, and I am very happy to announce that Chef Gavin Kaysen is in studio with us. Chef!
I made it.
Ever since the bear, everyone knows to call you Chef.
That's true,
Isn't that
right?
nice?
That's right. It is good. Actually, when I'm at the gym, people say, morning, Chef.
Oh, isn't that nice? So we just heard from the cranberries. What do you got with cranberries? How many recipes? How often do you use cranberries, if ever?
It's a fall thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of time there, although it's really good in desserts.
Uh-huh.
The thing with food, when I think about it, is less about the nostalgia and more about sort of the chemical side of, okay, it's got high acid, you can add some shoot, some sugar to it, whatever, all that. So what can you use it for? Oh, yeah, I love cranberries.
I have Thanksgiving question on cranberries. Do you prefer actual cranberries or just the jelly jar?
100% the jelly jar.
Of course.
I mean, it needs to be like out of the can, looking like, when you pour dog food out.
With
like,
the ridges.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Same but different, but it's kind of like when you get a jelly-filled donut. I don't want it to be fresh fruit jelly. I want it to be the crappiest, most, like
you can guarantee
synthetic,
synthetic
jelly inside of a donut. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of the same thing.
Right.
I'm a big fan of food. I've been accused of being a foodie, but I'm anything but that because I don't know how food works.
Okay.
By which I mean, you can come to my pantry and I look in there and go, I don't have anything. When I know for a fact you would whip up something that would blow my mind.
Sure.
And just the first thing you said, you think about acid. I literally look at people that understand food just like I look at a musician or a juggler or a perfect mimic. It's just a gift. I think you were just born with an understanding of how things work together.
Yeah, it's funny. When I started to first cook, it was with my grandmother, and I was very young. I was 7 years old. Baking cookies, making pot roast, chicken and dumplings here in Minnesota.
In Minnesota.
And, that certainly doesn't help you understand food that way. Mm-hmm. But watching a grandmother or somebody like that, a figure in your life who can open a pantry and say I'm in my mind at 7 being like, we have nothing. And she's like, we have everything for chicken and dumplings. We just have to change this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Then you start to think about it so differently. And you just realize that it's just this intuitive ability that they have.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And so from an early age, though, this was something you recognized. You had an interest or a passion for this.
Yeah, I loved it. I always loved it. And I knew when I was 15, I started working at Subway.
Oh.
And
a sandwich artist.
Certified. By the way, certified, just to be clear. Yeah. I have a certificate that says as such.
I don't doubt that.
Have it?
Oh, yeah.
Framed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there a Gavin statue outside that Subway now?
No.
They're not claiming
I don't
you?
even think it's open.
Oh, come on.
But what I would do when I was there is I would memorize people's orders because the same people would come in often every day to get the same sandwich. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't change the order. So I was like, well, if I just write it down on a piece of paper and Paul walks in, I'm just going to make his 6-inch roast beef sandwich on wheat, everything mustard, jalapeno.
Yep.
And I'd make it. He'd walk in. I'd say, Paul, your sandwich is at the register. I'll see you later. And the person behind him would say, how do you know him? Is he your brother? Is he your father?
Right.
I said, no. He just comes in every day. If you come in every day, I'll remember your order.
Yeah.
Well, this guy moves in next door to open a restaurant. He starts to come. He recognizes this, and he sort of recognizes this ability that I didn't know I had.
Okay.
Which was not only guest relations and customer service and all of that, but really just sort of the finesse of being able to cook.
Pretty incredible.
Put food together.
Yeah, it's a real mixed bag of skill sets. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm a chef. It's another thing to say I'm a chef and I got a few restaurants. It's another thing to say I got a chef and I got all these restaurants and they're in all these major cities. You've got some stuff you're getting ready to open now. It's old hat for you, but it still has to be an incredible check. You got to wake up every morning, at least have a moment where you go, how am I going to get all this done? Because again, you're the face, you're the front man, you're the quarterback and the GM and all these things.
Yeah.
And if not for you making sandwiches and remembering orders, you might still be making sandwiches and just not doing as well at it.
Exactly.
I mean,
and not memorizing any orders at all.
And so, this guy sees you next door. I'm opening a restaurant. This kid's good at what he does. Mm-hmm. But from A to Z, there's a million other letters. What did you say? Okay, I guess culinary school at some point. What was the path from high school Subway kid to
Yeah, so I went to culinary school in Vermont, New England Culinary Institute. I think I went there when I was 19.
Okay.
And, I just knew. I mean, I knew when I was 16 years old that I would do this the rest of my life. There was no other question in my mind what I was going to do.
Great.
And so I went to culinary school. At that time, you would do 6 months of school, 6 months of an internship, which I went to Napa Valley for. Went back to school for 6 months, had an opportunity to do an international internship.
Yep.
So I moved to Switzerland. and spent some time over there. And then I was in London and Sweden and kind of jumping around, and then came back stateside. Was in San Diego, then New York City, and back here.
But you're no chefs in your family. There was no. I mean, this is a world that you didn't have any sort of open door to. You just had to put your shoulder to the wheel and make it happen.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, my parents. They're not great cooks.
Okay.
I mean,
yes. You didn't need to say that on the radio.
Call out. By the way, they know. I mean, if you can call my mother and ask her to boil water, and she'd say, "What?"
Yeah, right.
And that's
put
okay.
A lid on it?
Huh?
Should I put a lid on
exactly. And that's okay. Yeah. Sometimes she'll send me pictures of like ground beef that's a little tinted green. She's like, "Do you think it's still good?" I'm like, "It's fine. Give it a shot. Just cook it an extra 10 minutes.
Let it rip." Siblings?
One older brother.
Has he got any kitchen skills?
Yeah, he's actually a pretty good cook.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's a pretty good home cook.
Okay.
But he's an artist. He's a woodworker. So he's very, he's very creative.
Right.
But we both have that creative sense, which we actually got from our mom.
Okay.
And my dad is very like type A sort of business sense, which I'm grateful that I got that from him.
Sure.
Because I need a lot of that now, especially with all of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I never grew up in the restaurant industry or profession. And even then, I mean, I'm 46 years old, so this is 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Being a chef then was not what it is today.
That was my next question. You came around at the perfect time as 30 years ago, I knew one name, Wolfgang Puck.
Yeah.
That was a guy in L.A. that celebrities went and ate, and they'd show him at a Lakers game. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
A chef?
Yeah.
The first time I went to L.A., I went by his restaurant. I was like, oh, my God. Like, how? And now, of course, we're in such a different era. You couldn't have imagined 35 years ago that we'd be here. But for you, call. Man, it seems like a lot of you're not lucky. You're very good, but you seem to be luck is what? Preparation and opportunity together and all these things.
Yep.
You obviously have the skills and all that. But if you had come around 30 years prior, you'd be, over at the IHOP and people would say, that guy does something special with pancakes. I don't know what it is.
And honestly, that's the credit to people like Wolfgang Puck and Thomas Keller and Alice Waters and you name all these chefs that literally paved the way for us to be able to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
There's no way we could do it.
And what are you doing now? You've got a lot of things happening. What's going on with Belcourt and blah, blah, blah? Because it's kind of, I can't possibly keep all this straight. I don't know how you do.
So Belcourt, when we had Belcourt in Wayzata, during COVID, we closed that restaurant. We moved the bakery into Cooks of Crocus Hill, which at the time was just in North Loop that we did it in as sort of a pop-up. It worked great. We put it in St. Paul. We put it in Edina. We joined the two brands together. And that was a 5-year partnership, which has come to an end. So we're all sort of splitting apart. In a great way. So Belcourt is going to reopen as a restaurant, bakery, and cafe in the North Loop, which is going to be around the corner from Spoon and Stable. And then the space in Edina, we're going to close all of that at the end of this month, and we're going to renovate that, and that'll be just a bakery and cafe.
Nice.
That's locally. And then we are also partnering with the Four Seasons down in Naples, Florida, to open up a new restaurant down there called the Merchant Room.
Naturally.
Which will open up later this year as well.
Yeah, man, that's a lot of. I mean, I think everybody's had at least one job where they put on an apron and went to work at a restaurant, fast food or otherwise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just knowing what it is for like one little mom and pop corner shop to run, the logistics and just the headaches and the permits alone. I mean, all the things you have to go through. But do you ever get up some days and go, I don't know why I got into this. No, I think it's time. I think it's time I just go make ramen noodles.
No, I love it. It's the best. I mean, you know what it is? It's at the end of the day, it's sort of just all a mathematical equation, right? I mean, it's like, how much are you going to let things you can't control bother you? Because it's like, there's so much out of my control.
Yeah.
Everything I can control, let's figure out a way to make it right.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the team. I mean, we're lucky. We have people, the majority of all of our leaders have been with us for 7 years or longer.
Great.
And they're amazing human beings. They love what they do. They love this profession. They love taking care of the guests. They love retaining people and training the youth under them. And honestly, that's what it's all about.
Now, Belcourt is a name that a lot of people listening are familiar with, but the story of why you chose that name goes back to Lyon, France. Lay that on me, because this is pretty great.
Yeah, so Paul Bocuse, who is the most famous chef of our generation, he passed away about 6 years ago. He has a restaurant there called Paul Bocuse, naturally. And in front of it, he flies the American flag.
In France.
In France.
Yep.
And in the center of Lyon, there's a square called Place Belcourt, and there's a statue of, at the time, the king bringing back and pulling back, basically saying we have now conquered, we have France back. So I asked Mr. Bocuse when I had dinner there in 2006, why do you fly the American flag? And he says, well, I was shot in the war, and an American soldier found me and saved my life, and so I fly the flag to never forget why we are still here. And jokingly, I always tell people I have American blood running through my veins.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And so when I decided to call the restaurant Belcourt, I called him and I said, would you mind if I call the restaurant Belcourt? And I tell this and I share this story as to why, because you were so impactful in my life. And your French cooking, your French style of hospitality has inspired me to just become better every day. And he says, of course. So we call it Belcourt. In fact, I spoke to his son last week, who's a very close friend. And I said, is there any way you could send me one of your dad's old chef coats that I could put in like museum glass and hang in the restaurant? And he says, I have 3 left. Took a picture of it. He says, which one do you want?
Oh,
and I was like, oh my God.
Cool.
That's unbelievable.
Awesome.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
92 KQRS.
A British woman has been auditioning for the Nat Geo show Locked Up Abroad, apparently. Remember that show, Locked Up Abroad?
Wow, yeah.
Did you ever get into that down the rabbit hole?
I did.
Yeah.
Every story's the same. They were asked to smuggle drugs back out of Peru. I just thought, what's the problem? I'll just do it this one time. I'll get back, pay off my student loans, and go open up a chip shop. And it always goes horribly wrong. A British woman, a former flight attendant who's 21 years old, got an early start.
Well, I mean...
How are you already a former anything at 21?
If you're doing the smuggling, don't you get to retire early?
I guess so.
That's
a
fair.
former
Good
flight
assessment.
attendant, her name is Charlotte May Lee, was arrested in Sri Lanka's capital city of Colombo at the airport. Customs officials say they discovered a drug known as Kush in her 2 suitcases. Now, Kush is a deadly drug commonly produced in West Africa, and apparently one of the ingredients in this drug is ground up human bones.
Oh, my.
Really?
I'll say that again. Human bones.
Come on.
A feature of this drug. Now, she's saying, look, I didn't have anything to do with this. I must have been planted in my bags while I was at this hotel back in Thailand.
Come on.
But here's the problem. 2 suitcases. It wasn't 100 ounces of Kush. It was 100 pounds of Kush. So that means...
That's like a whole 4th grader.
That's your entire weight allowance, 50 pounds per suitcase.
Yeah.
What happened? Like, someone planted it in there, didn't they? Did you not notice there was 50 extra pounds in each suitcase? I thought I was just hungover, isn't it? I mean, what on earth? I know what my suitcases weigh to the pound. I'm very good at traveling, and I know how to get 49 pounds into a suitcase.
Got some experience.
If somebody puts an extra 5 pounds in my bag, I'm going to be like, "What? This does not feel the same."
Right.
Okay.
50 pounds in each bag?
She should have made up a better excuse than that. Like, that's not the best defense right there.
She says that she had arrived in on a flight from Bangkok. So it was upon arrival that this was discovered in Sri Lanka. So she wasn't trying to leave with it. She was coming in from Thailand.
So
But she says it must have happened while I was at this hotel, and I think I know who planted it, although she's not named a name yet. So that means, but you still then went from your hotel to the airport, walked into the airport, handed those suitcases over to someone and said, I'm going to Sri Lanka now, no problems. I'm a law-abiding citizen, isn't it? No, you're not.
No.
100 pounds of drugs.
I mean, it had to be extra bags. And
Trying to take drugs into Sri Lanka? I've never been. I couldn't find it on a map. I don't know anything about Sri Lanka except this. I'm not taking drugs there.
No, you want to buy your drugs once you get to Sri Lanka.
Their drugs are everywhere.
Yes.
Get them. If they're just for your personal use, trust me, they'll find you. Walk around the airport. There's a certain look you can get on your face all around the world, and it's international language for, do you know where I can get drugs? Trust me, it works.
I just love that Ryder gave us that advice. Like, just buy the drugs when you get there.
That's the oldest, of course.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's a common travel tip.
Traveling in a rock band for years. I've had a dog sniff my suitcase more times than I could count at International Customs, or at baggage
Just
claim
your
and customs.
suitcase?
Because the whole band. Like we've walked into the terminal, walk into the luggage, and all of our touring parties' luggage is already off the belt with dogs sniffing it.
Yeah.
Like they know, like this, this is these 18, 20 people. It's band and crew all on the same flight. They all checked in together, so they're all going to get dogs sniffed at the other side, and it happens regularly. And the thing that we would always say, any drugs in your luggage? No, they're here waiting for us.
Yes, they're at the hotel.
You work at the airport. You think you can arrest me for having drugs over there across town? I don't think so.
Right.
No.
I didn't even do drugs, but I always said that.
I'm still just trying to figure out the street value of my bones right now.
If I were you, I'd stay away from Sierra Leone because this is a West African delicacy. Let me tell you something, man.
Stay out of the whole area, man.
When you go low, we're going to get high. See what I'm saying there? What? Seriously, by the time somebody, imagine explaining that. I've got this new thing, man. It's really going to make you feel good. Yeah, what is it? Well, I just mixed a couple of compounds and some human bones, and I think it's really going to be. That's a tough sell. It's a tough initial sell. All I'm saying. Credit the storytellers for making that thing stick.
Gorman in the morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the morning is back. 92 KQRS.
If anybody had been close to a lightning strike, or even, well, I guess worse, have you ever been in a lightning strike? No confirmation of anybody being hit themselves yet, but this is pretty darn close. On the KQ Talk and text line 651-989-ROCK, let us know if you have a similar story. Red texted, and I shall read this text. I was in the shower in the lower level basement of my home before going to work. There was an early morning thunder and lightning storm. As I was shampooing my hair, there was a lightning strike, and I believe it hit the ground and went into the aquifer. We had well water. All of a sudden, my feet were being shocked.
Oh.
Didn't knock me on my ass, but I jumped out of that shower in a flash.
Yeah.
Like the special effects in a movie, zoom. I got to say that morning, the shower woke me up like no other. How?
I just puckered up, not with my mouth, I mean somewhere else, and then it went directly up my spine.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough one. I was at my girlfriend's house when I was in college, and a bunch of us were in the front yard, just a couple of baseball gloves and a ball, literally just having a game of catch. Me and two of her brothers, and then a couple of other guys and girls in the families, a big family. They were all just gathered around. It was just like an afternoon in the 80s when you didn't have the internet or cable, and you just did things like have a catch.
Yeah.
And we were standing there, and there was definitely a storm coming in. We were aware of it. And, of course, suddenly you have to get those last few throws in because it's about to rain. And there was a very large old oak tree in the yard at the other side of the yard. And just without any warning, not one bit of thunder yet, no lightning, no rain, one bolt of lightning just hit the top of that tree. And there was 7 or 8 of us all in the yard. And a giant branch came down, and man, oh man.
Scattered.
I'm sure we all screamed, but no one heard a word. The ground shook, and it was just a colossal explosion of noise when that thing hit. I mean, it was the adrenaline went for minutes and minutes and minutes. It was fantastic in hindsight.
For sure. In the moment, though, but I just, it's hard to put into words as I'm displaying right now how loud that is when you're even remotely close.
Yep, it's impossible.
Unreal.
I had that. There's 2 moments with storms that just come out like none other. There's that one, and then the one time I saw a tornado in person, and I only saw it during a lightning strike. So for a flash of light, as a huge field lit up, I saw a tornado, and then it went back to pitch black again.
Wow.
So, at school, looking out across a huge yard, dark room, lights on in the building, pitch black outside, and lightning's flashing. My brother and I are just watching the lightning bolts, like, cool. And then one goes, whoo, and all of a sudden we're like,
not cool.
Not cool at all. And we went running, screaming, there is a tornado coming. It didn't come our way, thankfully, but we had no idea of knowing that when we saw it for the 0.2 of a second that lightning illuminated the ground. Another text, 651-989-ROCK. Let us know what you got. I had a lightning strike across the street and hit my neighbor's tree. It fried out my brand new 65-inch TV. That's tragic.
Bummer.
That's
How
tragic.
long ago? Because
not cool.
If that was a few years ago and it's a 65-inch, that's an expensive TV.
Here's another one. Lightning strike. Was on the toilet when my house was hit by lightning. I fell off the toilet. One second I'm sitting there. Next second I'm on the floor with my pants around my ankles. Garage door, microwave, TV, all fried.
Wow.
And bowels cleared.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Absolutely.
There's always a silver lining.
A cornucopia is not even going to help you in that situation.
Metamucil. Who's that? Just give me a lightning strike. I'll be cleared to go. That works every single time. Who we got? Dan from Minneapolis, I believe, is on the horn. Dan, Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you got for us?
You know where the Courage Center is over in Golden Valley, right off of Sweeney Lake?
I'll take your word for it.
I do. Sure, Dan.
Okay, well, I was down there back in the 80s, and I was fishing, and it was a nice sunny day. The lake was like glass. My line's laying flat. All of a sudden, I got the tingly feeling my hair started standing up, and all of a sudden the line lifted up off the water and blowed. So I reeled in, and I looked behind me, and I seen the storm cloud coming, so I ran to the car, and no sooner than I reached the car, the tree that I had been standing next to got struck and split.
Ooh. Man. Sometimes the universe gives you a tap on the shoulder, and if you're smart enough to listen, you get out of there.
Yep.
And that's where the spine tingle that we just both simultaneously experience comes from.
Yep, that's exactly
the nature thing. Yeah.
Woo, glad you're still with us, Dan.
I'm impressed you didn't soil yourself, Dan.
Yeah, and that's one of two. But,
have we verified?
What's that?
Have we verified Dan didn't soil himself?
I live in Minneapolis.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know.
Dad, thanks for the call, brother. We appreciate it. That just reminded me, probably 15 years ago, I walked out of my house. This is in Nashville. Walked out the front door, and our next door neighbor's tree, they had a giant branch that went across my whole front yard. It's an old established tree, giant branch. It's been there for as long as we've lived in the house. And it was a day like April or May, beautiful sunny day, not an ounce of weather anywhere. And I walked out the front door, as I'd done hundreds, if not thousands of times, and I walked under that branch, and I just stopped, and I looked up at it, and I was like, that thing would do some damage if it ever came down. Like, it had never occurred to me. I got in my car. I was 2 blocks away, and Rosemary called me, and she was like, that giant branch just fell in our front yard.
No.
I'm not kidding. I was 2 stop signs away. I spun around, raced back. There must have been something in the energy around that tree that branch was weakening, but I didn't hear a pop or a crack or a snap or nothing. I just noticed it and thought about it, and less than 2 minutes later, that branch was laying across my entire front yard.
Oh my God!
Close call.
Yeah,
close freaking call.
Totally insane. As a guy who loves nothing better than to go against my own gut, I'm glad that that one it got me. If nothing else, my gut said, "Don't stand under this branch anymore." 651-989-ROCK. Mary Kay from Minneapolis is on the horn. I should say. Good morning, Mary Kay.
Good morning.
What do you got for us?
Well, years ago, we were living in a trailer park in Hastings. My husband and his friends were a softball team. They came over to our house after the game, or a trailer, and one of the guys needed to use the phone, so I walked him back to the bedroom. And all of a sudden, we saw a flash, and the lightning must have hit the transformer, but lightning shot right out of that phone and knocked him across the room.
Oh, good gracious.
It's like a Stephen King film.
Hurt. He got up. He was fine. Scared, and so was I for having seen it.
Well, yeah.
Did you have a patch of hair missing or anything anywhere?
No, it was fine. It just, scared the heck out of us.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That'll do it. Thank you for the call, Mary Kay. On the text line, someone texted in, I was at Hazeltine when a person was killed by a lightning strike during the PGA. I remember that, 1991. I think it was the U.S. Open, wasn't it? There was a lightning strike. A bunch of people got struck, and one of them died. Like 5 or 6 people were struck, if memory serves. Yeah, that was crazy at a major golf tournament. All of a sudden that happens.
That is crazy. I was a junior in high school, and so I would have been like, I don't care. I'm sure. So I don't remember that, but
yeah,
that would, like, my adult self would be like, yikes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
that was
terrifying.
That was some scary business right there. This text I'm just reading. Parents laying in bed watching it arch across the suspended ceiling. It went into the electrical outlet in my sister's room, made the old black and white TV glow, melted the plug. I replaced the end of the plug. The TV still worked. So, hey, there's that. There's that at least. I was at a boat ramp putting my boat in during the storm, or rather taking my boat out. It was storming, standing next to my boat. Hair started to stand on my arms and legs started to tingle. Lightning strike was just feet away. It threw rocks and sand all over me. The noise was unbelievable. The power of the electricity, you could just feel. That's from Bill. Yeah, I said I was very close to a lightning strike, too. And it's just the hair on your body is standing up for minutes, not moments. It's like, would you please lay down hair on my arm? I didn't know I had that much until it was standing straight up.
That connection between a human and nature is just like, it's like the space stuff we talked about during headlines, right? Where you just can't comprehend it, but it's there for a reason, man. It's just
we're the only animals that would dare say, "Well, hang on, really? Is something about to happen?" Any other, be a horse or a dog or an earthworm when you're in a storm. They know exactly what's up.
They're running long before we are.
And there we are going, "Oh, it's not going to strike this tree."
That siren doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's how that stuff goes.
92 KQRS.
It's National Beer Day.
Hell yeah.
Oh, come on.
Cheers, boys.
The queen of PBR right over there.
That's right. Mm-hmm. If you're a beer drinker, you can celebrate by picking up an expensive 4-pack of double IPAs or the cheaper stuff. And I'll tell you what, Illinois is the place to go if you want cheap beer, believe it or not. Average price of a case a case in Illinois is $16.43. You would think that, the bigger cities would be more expensive, but it's just not true. South Carolina is the second cheapest, and New York State. So you got Illinois, New York, two of the most populated, right there in the top 3 of cheapest beer.
So weird. I can't believe I'm driving through Wisconsin to get cheaper beer in Illinois.
Correct.
Well, that is messed up.
That's really strange.
Wisconsin, Minnesota must fall somewhere in the middle because they're not mentioned in any of the top 10 cheapest or the most expensive. Can you guess where the most expensive beer case is per...
Hawaii.
Yeah, I was going to say Hawaii.
That's third, actually.
Okay.
Wyoming is second, but the most is Alaska. They probably have to import everything.
For the same reason.
Yeah.
It's harder to get
remote.
there.
Yeah, remote, for sure.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay.
Here's your headlines, friends.
And by the way, I'm just going to go out and say this. If I found myself in Alaska, I'd need a beer. Everybody has bad days at work. Sometimes you have a job or a duty comes up at work on your job and you just can't make it through without laughing. You just can't keep it together. Mm-hmm. You just have a hard time doing what you're there to do. I mean, if we do that, that's called good radio. But for a lot of people, you're really supposed to stay focused, especially if you're a police officer. Very, very important that police officers stay focused on the job, the task at hand. A police officer in Ohio pulled a woman over. There was an outstanding warrant. They recognized, hey, that's that woman that has an outstanding warrant. Let's pull her over. They did so. And as the cop was arresting her, standing there wearing his camera, body cam is on, so you can watch this all go down, and you can hear this. A couple things became apparent. One, she's driving with her pet raccoon in the car with her.
Which is odd.
Chewy, the pet raccoon. Okay, that's one thing. Sure. Okay, that's a wild animal you have. And then the second thing, and this is where the officers had a little trouble keeping it together. They noticed that Chewy was making an effort to... let me get this right. Smoke the woman's meth pipe.
The reason I stopped you is you are suspended with a warrant for your arrest.
I am?
The raccoon has her meth pipe.
As what?
Oh my God.
Her meth pipe. He's playing with the meth pipe right now. Oh, there's no... He's trying to smoke it.
Those are cops.
Thanks. There's no way. All right. Enough fun and games.
Enough fun and games.
Wow.
Chewy, you little rascal. So then they grabbed the meth pipe, and Chewy turned around and picked up a second meth pipe and tried to smoke that one too.
Really?
Oh, yeah, two. He doubled up on the meth-smoking raccoon. Now, this isn't funny. This is hilarious. I'm sorry. This
raccoon may have a problem.
This raccoon really needs to be, checked out. Now, the word on the street afterwards is Chewy is fine, by the way. He seems to be suffering no ill effects. Right now, after they found not 2 but 3 meth pipes total, a small amount of crack and 7 grams of meth, this woman whose name is Victoria, that whatever warrant they were already looking to serve her, it just got a whole lot worse.
She just leveled up real good there.
She leveled up real good. In fact, they're also checking to see if she has the proper permits to legally own a raccoon. Something tells me no.
I think even if she does, that maybe it's time to find the raccoon a new home.
I love the idea of her being like, I'm not sure what's worse for me, the meth or the crack, but I got my raccoon paperwork in order. That part's not a problem.
Something tells me that that's not in order. I'm amazed that Ohio has gone so downhill that this is just a normal day, and they're laughing about a raccoon.
You haven't spent much time in Ohio, if that's a shock.
You also haven't spent much time with raccoons, I'm guessing.
Wow.
No, I don't typically. I mean, I catch them on the ring cam now and then, and I give them names, but we haven't spent a lot of time together.
Yeah, no, they're just hopelessly strung out on all kinds of things. Raccoons, garbage, paper bags, plastic bags, whatever you got, they want it. Mm-hmm. Meth pipe, that's like Sunday. Go to meet and I'm done. Listen, I do want to mention this.
Enough fun and games.
That's it. That's the line I was trying to remember. Thank you, Ryder. I knew there was something I was trying to say that would make perfect sense of this.
Gorman in the morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the Morning is back. 92 KQRS.
The Foo Fighters rider for their gig in Indonesia. They have to be allowed. They had to go to the promoter and say, no, we're not coming unless we can drink, smoke, and cuss on stage. Cussing on stage. I've never heard that put into a gig rider before, but I get it. You know, they got some strict laws down there. Next thing you know, they're going to go to Singapore and say, I want to spit on the sidewalk.
Yes, I want to litter.
Yeah, it's not going to be, that one's not going to happen. Trust me. But a lot of bands over the years very famously have bizarre things or copious amounts of things on their riders. I think the most famous one, well, there's a couple that come to mind. My favorite one I'm going to say is Motorhead's.
Oh, yes.
The Motorhead rider, I can't even go down the whole list. I can't even pretend to. But I'll just start with 2 extra large bottles Jack Daniels, 1 extra large bottle Jim Beam, 1 extra large bottle Quality Vodka, 5 cases, 120 cans and or bottles of non-light beer.
Non-light
beer. Bring the liquor store with them. Like, that would have saved people a lot of time.
24 cans of strong dry apple cider.
Oh.
And then it goes down with snacks and other non-alcoholic drinks and food, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And the alcohol requirements, they're like, if any of this is not met, we're walking. This has to be there every single night.
Yes, because if they didn't meet the alcohol requirements, it meant they weren't paying to any of the other specs, right?
That could be it. Yeah. I mean, I think they just needed a drink.
They could have just called their rider rock and roll. Because that's what it sounds like to me. All that booze.
But, you know, at some point when you're touring, you recognize, or somebody points out to you, like, you know, all that stuff on the rider that you're paying for that, right?
You're getting billed.
And the bands are like, oh, we are? Crap. I thought that was the promoter. Yeah, the promoter's writing the check, but then it's coming out of your settlement at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I remember that conversation.
Oh, that sucks.
I remember that conversation. Somewhere in the mid-'90s, we're trying to cut back. 3rd record stiffed. Wait a minute, we have to pay for all this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are fun fun conversations.
Steve, what was a weird thing the Black Crowes put on a rider?
Well, we had in 1992 when the second album came out, we put an ounce of marijuana on the rider.
An ounce?
An ounce, a full ounce. And again, that was, to your point, see, our manager Pete Angelis came from the Van Halen world. They very famously would not allow, they wanted M&Ms in their dressing room. It's a very famous thing for Van Halen. They needed a bowls of M&Ms with no brown M&Ms. They said you have to remove all the brown M&Ms. And it said, if we find a single brown M&M, we can destroy the dressing room at promoter cost. And they would do that if they found a brown M&M. But the whole point, the thinking behind that, was more than just we want an excuse to destroy a dressing room. It was if you aren't paying attention to the fine print on the rider, you're probably not paying attention to the fine print on all the real production specs for lights and sound and blah 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 blah. It was like a way to make sure somebody was on the ball.
It wasn't just about David Lee Roth putting his hole through a piece of sheetrock.
No, and David Lee Roth loves to take credit for that. The credit goes to Pete Angelis. That was his idea. He later is managing my band, and he said, let's just, we were talking about that. And somebody said, we should ask for an ounce of weed. And he goes, well, it is why not? Because they probably, in 1992, an ounce of weed was not easy to come by in most places.
Right.
But we put it in there. And the question was just, do they even respond? So we knew right away if the promoter rep would come in and go, guys, I don't have the weed. And you could tell he's sweating it. We were like, okay, you are paying attention. That's good.
Yeah.
But then there were a handful of promoter reps who did walk in with an ounce of weed. And we were always like, wow.
That's like bonus, basically.
Very well done.
We're just checking to see if you're paying attention. But if you do come up with a weed, then it's just it's cherry on the frosting.
You know what we had that was unexpected for a lot of people? We had tube socks.
Really?
Just fresh socks. Just the things you get on the road when you're on the road for months and on.
I can imagine.
Good idea to load up on extra socks. You never know when you're going to need them.
See, I feel like today designing a rider would be super practical.
Oh, of course.
It's like, what can I, like, healthy eats, healthy drinks to get me through the day with energy, etc.
Yep.
Whereas 20-something me would have been like loose, fast women and Jägermeister.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Well, the women's a bit of a tall order. I mean, that's called trafficking. But the Jägermeister, we had a lot of liquor. We had cases of Red Stripe and or Stella and Heineken and
Imported stuff, I see.
Oh, yeah.
Very fancy.
Years of restaurant. I did a whole tour where I was just drinking Foster's oil cans, those giant cans.
Oh, man.
It's just easier. But I had like 6 or 8 of those on the rider, and they were only for me.
Oh.
Like, don't touch the oil cans. Because it was just easier.
Why were they easier?
Well, on stage, it's like have a Jack and Coke in the afternoon, and, get your little pick-me-up, and then you got to slide into beer for the gig, and then it was just like I didn't want to have to keep up with 6 or 8 beers. It's just 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're giant, and they just fit in my hand well during the show. I don't know. Who knows, man? The 90s were a very, very bizarre time for a lot of us, me especially. What can I say?
Riders can get absurd.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But do you get to a point where you're the Beatles or you're Bob Dylan or whoever, where you just kind of like you've earned the right to just get away with whatever, even if it's ridiculous?
Oh, of course. Yeah. There's nothing. No, if you're on a level like that, whatever I mean, my God,
you're only rolling your eyes at the bands that aren't there, that are asking for ridiculousness, right?
But you know what? To your point now, like the last.
If you're Beatles or Bob Dylan level rider, or like, is it somebody else guessing maybe what you want?
Yeah, you're walking in ahead of the show. Paul McCartney played a gig in Memphis a few years back, and a really close friend of mine is a promoter for Live Nation. And she said that the rider she showed it to me. She was incredible. There was a specific candle that had to be lit 6 hours before he arrived in every room he might enter.
Ooh.
And there was a certain type of flooring they had to put down. So when his car pulled into the arena, he had to walk across this, like they had to go to like some flooring place and find a roller type of pad thing. And everywhere he went, it was the same floor. Huh. And of course, he had no idea. He was somewhere once, and he was like, this candle smells nice. And his tour manager's like, get those candles everywhere Paul goes. And then he's like, I like the way this floor feels on my feet. And they're like, get that floor everywhere Paul goes. He doesn't care.
Unreal.
He has no idea, but there's always a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
Job security.
Very much so. Today's episode of Twin Cities Civil War, we asked for a caller from the East, we asked for a caller from the West, and we got both. And so here's how this is going to work. I'm going to give you 10 questions, Minnesota trivia, if you will. The person with the most correct answers when it's all said and done is going to Farm Aid. Let's get right to it. First up from the west side of things, Richard in Prior Lake. Richard, good morning. You're going to go first. I'm going to give you 10 questions. You're going to have 60 seconds. Hopefully we get through all 10. Are you ready to roll, sir?
And just real quick, Richard, the first answer that you give is the answer that we're going to accept. And you can pass, but we'll go back to the question later, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Right
ready?
on.
He's ready.
Are you ready, sir?
I am.
Let's go. Name the waterfowl with a distinct call that is Minnesota's state bird.
The loon.
The Minnesota State Fishing Opener for walleye falls on the same weekend as what other holiday?
Mother's Day.
What did the 3 M's in 3M stand for?
Pass.
From the land of sky blue waters was the slogan used nationwide by which beer brand?
Hams.
Which Twin Cities suburb is known as the Halloween capital of the world?
Anoka.
What is the first name of the University of Minnesota's Gopher mascot?
20 seconds.
Molly.
The biggest ball of twine in Minnesota is the title of a song by this famous parody writer and accordion player.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Credits for this Virginia, Minnesotan-born actor include Guardians of the Galaxy, Parks and Rec, and Jurassic World.
2.
Pass.
Oh, all right.
So, all right. Very, very well done. Nice effort, sir. We're going to stick you on hold for a quick second. We'll come back after contestant number 2. Yes.
Fletcher, tell him which ones he missed.
All right. So he actually got 5 correct. He passed on 3M, which is Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company.
All right.
Got Goldie wrong, the Minnesota Gopher mascot.
Goldie. Yeah.
Goldie, got that right. Yep. And then you passed on number 8, which was Chris Pratt. That's the actor from Guardians of the Galaxy and such.
All right, Richard.
5's good.
Strong effort, brother. Sit tight. It's time to go to contestant number 2 from the east side of things. We have Alyssa in Lino Lakes. Good morning, Alyssa.
Good morning.
All right, are you ready for your Civil War effort?
Yes, I'm going to try my best.
Okay, Alyssa, just a reminder, the first answer you give is the one we're going to take. You have 60 seconds. The number you need to beat is 5.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Don't let it get in your head. Don't let it get in your head.
Set, go.
Babe the Blue Ox is friend and companion to this legendary folk hero.
Paul Bunyan.
MSP's Terminal 1 is named after this historic aviator raised in Minnesota.
I have no idea.
Kevin Smith's film, which featured, he filmed which movie featuring himself as Silent Bob on location at the Eden Prairie Center?
Mallrats.
In 1901, which president used his famous phrase, speak softly and carry a big stick, during a speech at the Minnesota State Fair?
Teddy Roosevelt.
The E in 35E stands for what?
East.
St. Louis Park High School graduates Joel and Ethan Coen won their first Oscar for what homespun murder story?
Fargo.
What beer brand currently brewed at the Shell's Brewery in New Ulm is featured on an iconic sign located on Nicollet Island next to downtown Minneapolis?
Northeast.
This cartoon moose and squirrel live in Frostbite Falls on the Minnesota-Canadian border. Ooh.
Oh, didn't get that last one.
Sorry. However, I don't know.
We got a tie.
Are we tied?
We have got a tie.
Well,
Alyssa got 5. She missed Lindbergh for the Lindbergh Terminal. And at the very end, she got, I think you guessed Northeast. It's Grain Belt Beer was the correct answer for number 7 for the sign. Yeah.
Man,
all right.
For a quick second there, I thought Alyssa had that one. All right. A couple of 5s. I guess that means we have a tiebreaker we need to get into.
Pulled one up. Gooseberry Falls State Park is the most visited state park in Minnesota. Approximately how many visitors does it receive each year?
450,000.
450K is Richard's answer. Okay. And now have we got Alyssa back on?
We've got Alyssa back. Alyssa, we're going to the tiebreaker question, which is Gooseberry Falls State Park in Minnesota is the most visited state park in the state. Approximately how many visitors does it see each year?
600K.
All right. Alyssa said 300K.
What did Richard say?
450.
450. Richard wins at 750,000.
Whoa, wow. 750. Richard.
Seriously, nearly 1 million people.
Wow, Richard pulled that one out. Very well done. Guys, both of you did great. Richard and Alyssa, thanks for calling Twin Cities Civil War. Richard, definitely, yeah, man, I would have undersold that myself, but
have you seen those falls? I mean, they're pretty
they are.
damn
I
get it.
I thought 500,000 was a pretty good number, and so his guess of 450. I'm going to keep score, by the way, so the West is up 1-0.
Richard, well done, sir. Have a great time at Farm Aid. I'm sure you will.
Awesome, man.
We'll see you there, brother. Argument right now. If you had to give up one, would you give up your taste for sweet or would you give up your taste for the salt? Sweet or salty? 651-989-ROCK. Ryder, I'm curious as to your thoughts. What would be harder for you?
Okay, well, I'm definitely a salts person, so I think that I would lose the sweet unless we're changing it to if I never knew about saltiness. Then I'd go the other direction.
Okay. I'm just talking about like you wake up today and one of them's gone.
If I wake up and I know what I'm missing, I'm going to keep the salt and get rid of the sweet.
I'm with you right there. I'm a guy who I always say I don't have a sweet tooth. I'm never interested in dessert. But the truth is, it's probably just, but then I will, on occasion, have 4 pieces of pie. It's just like, I just stockpile. About once a quarter, I just get it all. And then I prefer a second helping of dinner over dessert. That's just me. Speaks a lot to being the 8th kid in a giant family where my mom was cooking in bulk and not flavor.
Yeah, right.
That's how that goes. Fletcher.
This is easy for me. I'm actually taking a contrarian approach to this.
Okay.
I'm a sweets guy. I got a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
I would, if I had to lose one of them, I would lose the sweet tooth.
Oh,
because I'm fat, and it's mostly because of sugar.
Yeah.
If I could get rid of that aspect of my life, things would be a lot easier. I think probably. So
all right.
It's the worst drug on the planet, man. Sugar's awful.
I got
a technical question.
Yeah, let her rip.
So, when we say sweet, do we mean sugar? Because here's the question: if I give up sweets, meaning sugar, I can still eat grapes and get the sweetness.
Oh, see?
But doesn't have sugar?
It's the sense of
it's fructose.
Sweet.
It's not sugar. Okay,
so,
it's the sense
so
of
you're
sugar.
not
All right,
getting
I got you.
You're not sneaking in any berries.
Okay. All right.
I like how Chef Gavin is already trying to cheat at
Sure,
this.
yeah.
No,
well, but between that and getting rid of his own fingerprints, so there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, right? Yeah. This is too much for morning radio. I got to go back to bed.
Here's the problem. Playing at a high level.
Well, here's the problem.
Your game.
If you give up sweet, like I don't know, because if I give up sweet, then I have to give up fruit. I mean, you have a peach in perfect season. I don't know if you can beat that. Yes.
No, you're right. But the problem is that the peach leads to freaking bottle caps and other cotton candy and other crap
but now you can't have corn.
Eating.
Can't have corn.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, but I think
I'd
be willing to do that because I've got a problem when it comes to the bad aspects of sugar.
I would give up salt for sweets so long as I could never have sugar again. Sorry, that's too technical.
That was actually really good.
I like that.
Yeah.
A lot of layers on this onion for you.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, because, hey, onion, sweet.
See? There it is.
He's picking it up.
Oh, crap. Onion is sweet?
Yeah.
So no bloomin' onions?
No bloomin' onions.
See, now I just respect the level with which he's playing the game.
Sure.
Because he is analyzing every aspect of this. Like, he's taking it seriously like we should when we're having a nonsense argument.
What Gavin is doing right now, it's the equivalent of an older brother holding his younger brother by the head, and his arms are too short to land a contact to the body. You know.
See, I was the younger brother with short arms.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Okay, good. So for once, I'm holding.
Yeah, that's it. Get it while you can, man.
I know, man. I know.
Chris from Delano is trying to get in on the Fletcher diet, saying get rid of the sweet, then hopefully I would get thin.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's how that works.
I'm not really sure either, but okay.
I can tell you 100% that if I cut sugar out of my life, I would shed 50 pounds in a matter of 6 months. Easily.
Well, I have a suggestion for you.
Cut sugar out of my life? Yeah.
Let's
Super
do it.
easy. Super easy.
Asked and answered. Okay, Chef Gavin Kaysen, again, thank you for coming in, man.
Thank
Seriously,
you. Thanks for having me.
This has been a real treat. Last question. You and I go on a crime spree. You without your fingertips, me the brains of the operation. It's not going to last long.
Whoa,
we're going to get in
the
trouble.
brains?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
God.
We're
corner.
convicted. The governor says, no, we're flipping the switch tonight. There's no clemency. You're done. What's the last meal?
Oh, that's easy for me. I want like a tomahawk steak.
Uh-huh.
You know, I want a tomahawk steak
I like it already.
With cheesy gratin potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I want for dessert. I want tiramisu. I want creme brulee.
Creme brulee.
I want like a chocolate lava cake, and I just want a ton of ice cream.
No veggies?
Oh, man.
No, I'm dying.
It's the
I'm
last
done.
meal.
I'm just checking.
No, like
I'm checking.
Yeah, no. I mean,
I would have asparagus in my last meal.
You can put it next to the steak. I'll look
that's
at
what I'm
it.
saying. Yeah, you'll look at it.
Little béarnaise on top.
Hey, I just have one quick question. If you're doing this crime spree, can I just be the driver?
Yeah.
I just want to be the wheelman.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool.
That's
glad we got that figured out.
We have covered some bases. Again, sincere thanks, man. This has been great.
My pleasure.
You're welcome
Thank you.
back anytime, brother.
Thank you.
Gorman in the morning is also Gorman on the go. Get the 92 KQRS app and stream live or catch the Gorman in the morning podcast anytime. 92 KQRS.